Hello everyone, and this year I'm going to do a series on how we used to sew using the old machines. We have new machines that do a lot of thinking for us, and we forget these older ways and what is behind what these machines do for us. So to really start this, I'm going to discuss tension. And tension is a very important thing. And many people think that you should never touch your tension. But there are reasons for you to touch your tension. And I'm going to explain that now. Because what the goal is, you have two pieces of fabric together, and I'm just going to use this as an example, and we put them together like this and we sew the seam. But what you don't realize is you want your bobbin thread and your top thread to meet exactly in the middle. And it's easy, like when you're quilting and you have batting or you're using a thicker fabric, to get everything in the middle. But sometimes you don't want it to be in the middle, and there are reasons for that. And what I'm going to do is show you what different tensions does. And this is my bernina, and you don't have to have a bernina to do this. You can do this on any machine. It can be a knob that's down by the needle. They were round little knobs that had one or two, or they can be a knob at the top, or they can be on the side of your machine. The older machines that had manual tension. This machine has electronic tension. And what tension is a disc that is, come over a little bit, that is in here, and there are two discs, and what they do is they clamp together and hold the thread tight so that there's tension, and then your bobbin has tension. I'm lazy, and I am fortunate that I have a really, really good dealer. One of my favorite threads is 150 weight polyester that I use a lot for sewing because for me it is the most perfect thread. But it is thinner than normal thread. So I take my bobbin with the bobbin loaded with that 150 to my dealer, and he will adjust the default bobbin tension for me on all my machines, be it a top loading bobbin or a front loading bobbin. Some machines have side loading bobbins, some have them in the back. There's so many things. Unless you have a really, really old machine that has a spindle bobbin and they're longer and they work really differently. But those are really, really old machines. And it doesn't matter. The bobbin tension can be adjusted on every machine no matter what. Even top loading bobbins have a screw to adjust the tension. I never mess with my bobbin tension. My dealer sets my bobbin tension for my 150 weight thread. And I know that if I use a thicker thread, then it's going to be tight, so I need to loosen my top tension to make it equal. And that's what I'm going to explain. And because my dealer can adjust my bobbin in a couple of turns, it'd take me a day and a half to get it just right. So I let my dealer, on one of my older machines, which is a 2003 Bernina, and I also had an old Husqvarna Viking that had bobbins, and I had multiple bobbin cases, and they were affordable. They were like $15, $20 a pop. because of the older machines, and they were very standard. So what I had was 3. And I had those bobbins adjusted, one for thicker thread, one for thinner thread, and one for really thick thread. And so that worked for me for those machines. But these new machines are electronic, and they're easier to deal with, or if you have an older machine, so you can deal with it. And so what we're going to discuss is how tension works. And remember, our goal is to meet in the middle 95% of the time. Sometimes you don't want that. And that's what I'm going to explain. Like this one is set to 4/0. This is my default. But if I go to the eye and I turn off my saved, here we go, and I go back and I press the default. See, it's actually at 525, and that's not good for me, and it's a 2.5 millimeter. I like to piece and want my default to be a 1.8 millimeter, so we'll lower this to 1.8. And then, see, it even adjusted the tension to 4.5. But I don't like that. So I take my tension and I set it to 4 because that's the default quilting in the quilting menu. But because I have it on this utility stitch, when I turn on my machine, it always starts at that stitch. And I want it to be there. So what I do is I go here, and down here I press this button, and now it remembers this stitch forever. And it is perfect for my piecing using the thread that I like to use. So what I'm going to do, okay, now that we're talking about physical tension, I have used a plain satin stitch, which is a zigzag stitch, shrunk down. I usually start at 0.5. I know this thread because I've used red in the top, white in the bottom, so you can really see, but I've set it to 0.3 and 4 millimeters wide, so it's easy. I've done the first satin stitch, and you can see how nice it looks. And then you turn it over and see we have this line of red down each side with the white in the middle. That's what you want for a perfect satin stitch. No longer meet it in the middle. And what gives you that is that beautiful full satin stitch on the front. But see, if you look, our tension has gone down to 2.5, which is a really low tension. And what happens is when you put the tension low, it pulls the top thread, it loosens the tension on the top, so the bobbin is tighter, so it pulls the top thread to the back because it's harder for it to pull up the bobbin thread. So that's what you want. And see, if we lower the tension even more, I'm going to go down to like 0.5. I'm just making it a really, really big thing. And then we'll sew another round of satin stitch here really quickly. Remember, red is on the top. Sorry about that. I'm just going to use my start-stop button instead of my foot control. And I've done a quick little satin stitch here. You can see it here that I just did. But if we turn it over at 0.5, you can see that the top thread there's hardly any white thread showing whatsoever. So that's too much. This is perfect right here. But what happens if I raise the satin? So I'm going to go to 7.0. I'm making drastic jumps because you can fine-tune this to whatever you want. So what we'll do is we'll make another quick satin stitch. And the reason I'm talking about this is because we're going to talk about precision piecing and precision sewing. And you want total control of your machine, and if you understand it. Now we look at it. Let's turn to the back at first and see, here's our normal one that looks perfect. Our one with low tension. Now here's the one with the high tension. And see, we see hardly any red whatsoever. But if we turn it over, you will notice that the white bobbin thread is being pulled to the top. And there are different stitches that you would want to do this. And I've done it on a satin stitch because it's really easy to see. So what we're going to do in the future of this is talk about different historical stitches, and I'm going to show them of how you want to do them and why. And the first one we're going to talk about is the satin stitch in the next video. And I'm going to give you the reasons because there's various ones. But you see the different heirloom stitches up here in white. And we will go through this step by step because what I want you to do is to understand your machine and know how to use your machine to its fullest capabilities. And the beauty is you don't need an expensive machine or anything because all of these things are adjustable. Some machines won't have the full features, but let me tell you, every machine has tension. And the things that you can do with tension. So this is what we're going to discuss over the year, is how to truly, truly use your machine so you can get the most out of it and enjoy your sewing, your piecing, your quilting to its fullest. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to show the steps using the full computerized system of a full featured machine like this Bernina. This is a 735, which is 5.5 millimeter. But this is a brand new machine. This was my Christmas present to myself. Or you can be using an older White or Kenmore or even an older Singer because their tension knob, like I said, some are a dial up here. Some are here on the side. But a lot of the older machines have a circle dial right here that does the tension, and you pull your thread and you wrap it around these and connect it to do, and that's how you get it into the tension disc. Because this one has it here and they close like this. The ones that are here are the disc are like this, and as you tighten the tension they close like this. And it's a simple technology, and as you can see, the 3 stitches, normal tension, a really low tension, and a really high tension. And then we turn it back around, and we look at it again. The perfect tension, which is low, 2.25, to a really low tension where we pulled the top thread all the way to the back. and a really high tension where we pulled the bobbin thread to the top. And this can be done, and you've heard it, this tension, this high tension is used with things, you've heard it called bobbin work, or and low tension is used in embroidery a lot. So this machine sets everything by itself.